Well, what's up, Guardians? Peace and Grease here, and I kind of want to give you my impressions of the Final Shape expansion since I've spent the past couple of weeks with it. Now, if you're on the fence about buying this expansion, there are a few things you need to consider. I'm going to break this video into two parts. Firstly, the things that I liked about the expansion, and then secondly, my criticisms. So let me start off by saying I got to commend Bungie here on delivering an overall good expansion. Was it perfect? No. Was it amazing? No. Sadly, technical issues definitely had an impact on player experience here. Now, I mean, obviously it goes without saying, if you play the Final Shape expansion a couple of weeks after its launch, you're not going to have the same experience that I did. But I can't discount that experience because it happened. I have to take the good with the bad. And even though Bungie took the game offline for 24 hours, it really didn't seem to help remedy the technical issues. But despite the animal kingdom of error codes and the farmer's market of error codes and the crashes, I still think it's overall a good expansion. I also want to congratulate the kind of unsung heroes of Bungie Studio. The music department, the environment team, the cutscenes, the voice acting, all top notch. These are the departments that deliver time in and time out, and they deliver in spades here. So great job. The campaign was very well done. It was very dramatic, very touching. The cutscenes were very dynamic. In fact, there comes a point in the campaign, without spoiling anything, where our Guardian has to struggle to get through it. And that makes perfect sense. Time and time again in these expansions, we're told, oh, this is the big new threat. But our Guardians just waltz right past it. So seeing our Guardians struggle, it is a refreshing change, and it makes sense. I really did enjoy that. We get a new subclass, the Prismatic subclass, which is very unique, and it's a whole heck of a lot of fun to use. Furthermore, it fits perfectly with the alleged final expansion for Destiny 2. We have new weapons and armor sets to chase. Some of these weapons, by the way, are designed in a very cool way. In fact, even more so than many of the exotics in the game. On top of that, many of these weapons are very good. They're worth chasing. On the topic of armor sets, you could technically put this into the criticism category. But since I've mentioned it here, I'm just going to touch on it briefly since it's such a minor detail. I genuinely hoped that Bungie would go all out and deliver some amazing armor sets for the Final Shape. Sadly, that didn't happen. As it stands right now, even with the Final Shape, there's not a single armor set that I like in Destiny 2. And I run the Hunter, Warlock, and Titan. And when I say there's not a single armor set that I like, I mean in its entirety. I typically end up having to mix and match. An armor, a helmet from this set, gloves from this set, chest piece from that set. You get the idea. Unfortunately, even with the Final Shape, in Destiny's history, the best looking armor sets we've ever had are still in Destiny 1, sadly. There's a new location for us to explore, the Pale Heart. There's a lot of new secrets and things to collect, but I genuinely had expected Bungie to phone this in. Same types of activities we've seen countless times in all these other old locations. But imagine my surprise when I get to the Pale Heart and there is a whole host of new activities. You could tell developers have sunk a serious amount of time into this location, and I appreciate that. Now, with all of that being said, I think it's time to move on to my criticisms. The first of which is going to be the forced slowdowns. At several points throughout the campaign, you're prevented from running, sprinting, or jumping, and you have to walk at a slow crawl. My very first playthrough, it was annoying, but I overlooked it because I was listening to the dialogue intently, and I was paying attention to all of the details that the environment team had put into these locations, which, by the way, there's a lot. The second time I played through the campaign, I was over it. Third time, it just served to just tick me off at that point. And unfortunately, this even extends to the new strike. Having your players stand at a door for what feels like an eternity while characters blather on, come on, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I get it. This is Bungie. They're the team that takes strikes. They suck the fun out of them, make them 5 times longer than they need to be, and as monotonous as possible. But I digress. Next up, ghost hunts. I appreciate what Bungie was trying to do here, and I do mean that with all sincerity. This is something that always bugs me about games like Destiny 2, where we get a new expansion, but the story or the threat is self-contained in that new location for that new expansion. If you go to an old location, everything's normal. There's no impact of the story. That's what Bungie was trying to do here with these ghost hunts. They're trying to weave the story of the final shape into Destiny 2's universe, even the old locations, which is awesome. I appreciate that. It's refreshing to see. But there are so many better ways that this could have been implemented. Unfortunately, Bungie chose the longest strikes, the longest missions, and the locations furthest away from a fast travel point on these planets. It seems they intentionally tried to waste as much of the player's time, and it just comes off as lazy. For example, they would choose strikes like the Lake of Shadows, or missions. They would choose the Cunning mission from the Witch Queen campaign. Oftentimes, it didn't even make sense, and that didn't change anything significant. A statue in the corner and 1 or 2 lines of dialogue. And it just leaves you wondering, why am I here? I already got Sabathun's worm. How did it get back here? So why are we doing this? If we already have the worm, because we got it with the Witch Queen campaign. So none of this makes any sense. And the locations, you're running, sprinting, jumping, sparrowing for 10 minutes to get clear across this planet with no fast travel location, and then you just interact with something. It took me 10 times longer to get here than it did to do the thing. It is so aggravating. What could have been amazing because of the way it was implemented was just awful, sadly. Moving on, let's talk about the Pathfinder system. The Pathfinder system is a new system meant to replace the bounties, and I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, we have some problems. The first is that the Pathfinder system punishes players that run more than one character. Now, instead of just grabbing your character and running the activities, you have to complete an entire Pathfinder tree for one of your characters. So if you have 3 characters like myself, I have to complete 3 different Pathfinder trees, one for each. And you can't do these simultaneously because it's account-wide. Furthermore, if there's a player that doesn't like a certain activity, be it Gambit, Strikes, Crucible, whatever the case may be, the game punishes you for that. As we all know, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you're not doing an activity, that means you now have to go around these challenges, and it's going to take you longer, and you're going to have to complete more challenges. And that's not even the biggest issue. The bounties originally were very open-ended, meaning if you got the bounties and you ran the activity, 9 times out of 10, you completed the bounties. But unfortunately, the Pathfinder challenges are uber specific. Get jolt kills, get blinded kills, get solar ignitions, get weakened or suppressed kills. You're constantly having to change your loadout, your subclass, your build, over and over and over again. And it's just annoying to do because they're so specific. And this is especially problematic when players want to run the new subclass. Well, tough, you can't. As an example, I had to get weakened or suppressed kills. I'm using Prismatic. I only have 1 void ability, so I'm getting like 1 or 2 kills and then having to wait for the cooldown and hope that my allies don't take out all the enemies. After 3 Gambit matches, I was only 10% of the way done with the challenges. That's over 20 Gambit matches for 1 challenge. Frustrating to say the least. Now let's talk about episodes. Bungie has already stated that the final shape is going to be the final expansion for Destiny 2. And they're shifting a good majority of that time used to develop expansions to the episodes. They're going to spend more time developing the episodes, and the episodes are going to stick around longer. This has a few concerns. First of all, is there anything that's going to replace the expansions? Because it seems like you're using up all of that time that you would have used for expansions, and you're now dedicating it to the episodes. This is not the first time a developer has attempted this. In fact, DE, Digital Extremes, the developer for Warframe, tried this a few years ago. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was the season passes stuck stuck around way too long, but there weren't rewards to make up for the length of time that the season pass was there, and people just lost interest because the stories were shallow and uninteresting. Well, I hate to be too judgmental too quickly, but so far with Act 1 in this episode, the story is very mundane, very uninteresting, doesn't really have any depth. And we have 3 acts of this, and the season pass is going to stick around longer, but I'm already at like rank 65 or something like that. Does that mean that the season pass is now going to go beyond rank 100 if the season pass is sticking around longer? I don't know. I'm kind of confused on that. But it's definitely concerning in regards to Destiny 2's future, which I may make a video on that separately. My final criticism. Titans have been waiting 2 years for a new super. The last 2 new supers that Titans received were like in season 17, if I recall correctly. And that was with Thunder Crash and Burning Maul. Now, you may be confused. You may be thinking, well, what about Stasis? Stasis was more Titan punching, smacking the ground with blue icicles. Not new. Not saying that it performs badly, but creatively, it's not new. Well, what about Strand? Hey, green's my favorite color. The grapple grenade is a lot of fun, and Banner of War is great. But unfortunately, not new. More Titan running around smacking stuff. Again, I'm not saying that it performs badly, but creatively, it's not new. So, how about the, air quote, new Prismatic Titan Axe Super? Well, tell me you didn't play Destiny 1 without telling me you didn't play Destiny 1. The final expansion for D1 was Rise of Iron, and guess what they added? That's right, the axe. The only difference being that it was orange and solar in D1, and it's purple and void here. Again, I'm not saying that it performs badly, but creatively, not new. Now, my opinion is the reason Titans haven't gotten a new super is because Bungie's out of touch. Nobody there plays Titans, so they have no clue what we're talking about. Maybe by Destiny 3 we can get a new super, but Bungie's certainly not going to be adding new supers or subclasses with the episodes, which means it's 2 years and counting, Bungie. And I know you have talented developers that can probably come up with 10 original new ideas for Titan Super, but for whatever reason, we're just not getting them. And that's a real shame. With all that being said, let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Did you love the Final Shape expansion? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Although I kind of doubt you hated it. But hey, I'm willing to listen to your arguments if you did. And until next time, peace out.